Do we want to boost each other up, or is it you want to tear each other down? And part of the problem with, I think, Canada as a whole is we have an Eastern economy and a Western economy. And when the Eastern economy is doing well, the Western economy typically is not. And when the Western economy is doing well, the Eastern economy is typically not. So you've got this dichotomy that's already creating tension.
Yeah, one's commodity-based, the other one is manufacturing-based.
Right.
So.
One relies on a weak Canadian dollar, and we functionally in Alberta are more tied to a U.S. dollar.
Yeah, we transact in the U.S. dollar. I mean, whether it's oil, whether it's our grain resources, our timber, and et cetera, it's all U.S. dollar based because that's our largest export.
Right.
So, because God forbid the rest of Canada would want our exports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're more than happy.
Doesn't want Alberta
they're more
oil.
than happy to take it from people who kill people than they are from their own country.
Right. It appears that way.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And you're absolutely.
There's my soapbox.
So what else can we do? Pension.
That was 2 so far. You've got 2. You said there was 3.
Well,
Three
I mean, there's a multitude of things, but I'm going. You can't do anything until you control your own money, right? That to me is the number one thing, right then and there, and that sends a very serious message to Ottawa that says, okay, when we have to go ask for it to get it back. That's a different story than us taking it and then giving it back to them. You know, now they are on the receiving end of the negotiation. We hold the power, right? Because that's really, it seems to me like the only thing Ottawa wants from Alberta is our money.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So if we take back control of that, then we actually gain back some control and some power to be able to negotiate for terms. And whether they do or they don't is irrelevant. Then you can take the next step. Right, and there's some people.
Well, we don't have to do these things one at a time. We just say on January 1st, 2021, we're taking our right back to collect our own taxes.
Exactly.
We're taking our right back to collect our own money, and we want the capital that is in the Canada Pension Plan.
Don't even bring Canada Pension Plan into it for now if you don't want to complicate it. But here you have, let's go back to resources. Yeah. It is very clear in the Constitution who is responsible for the development of the resources. That is a provincial decision, unless it comes into the interests of Canada, in which case then the federal government can intervene and say that, 9210, right? Yeah. We can build a pipeline across the province because it is the best interest of Canadians. Yeah. Well, why are we dependent?
That's infrastructure, though. That's not necessarily resource development. That is an infrastructure project.
Absolutely. But you've got Tech Frontier. I'm going. It's an Alberta project.
It's a resource development.
So why is it that we're not saying, this is a provincial project, a provincial jurisdiction? Exactly. This has nothing to do with the federal government.
Yep, I would agree.
So why are we even having the discussion? You know what? Let's move forward. Let's move forward. Where is Jason Kenney and our leadership here provincially in making some bold statements and positioning Alberta within the Constitution and the rights that the province already has?
Exactly.
And start doing something.
Like taking control of our own police. It's the same thing. Those are the same things. These things are like Ontario has its own police force. Quebec has their own police force. So does Newfoundland.
Yeah, but until you control your own money,
right?
It doesn't matter that you've got your own pension plan, you got your own this, you got your own. If we keep sending all of Albertans' money to Ottawa first,
right,
therein lies a problem.
That is the problem.
Alberta has to collect its own taxes, and don't call it revenue. Please don't call it revenue. It's not Alberta revenue. It's, let's be honest, it's a tax collection.
Yeah.
Right. So the people in power need to remember that it's not their money, it's our money that they're spending.
So are you saying that Alberta has the right to collect only the Alberta portion of the tax, not the federal tax? What are you saying?
You'd have to.
What does Quebec do?
We do that though now. We collect the Alberta portion, and I mean, if you're a corporation, we've got to check.
The federal government collects both.
But if you're a corporation and you have to pay your Alberta corporate tax, where do you write it to? You write it to the Alberta Treasury Board. It goes to there. It doesn't go to Ottawa and then come back to it. But what we need to do on the individual level is everyone pays their taxes to Alberta first. All of it. Federal, provincial, everything goes there. Gas tax, everything goes to the Alberta government first.
Yes, I agree
and
with
then
that.
from
So we need to
there,
separate
we can
them
send
out.
it back.
Yeah.
I just don't think that we have leaders or an individual in power that would ever even consider that.
You mean you don't
Jason
think Jason
Kenney.
Kenney would
God, no. Jason Kenney's been a federalist and he wants that prime minister's job. So any time that he wants to stand up for Alberta, he's going to be sticking it to Ontario and Quebec, and that's where his votes are. So he will never, ever stand up for Alberta.
Well,
he was not the leader originally, and this is what I said before he even came and got the nod to run as the leader for the UCP.
Yeah.
He was never the right person for that role, and he will never be the right person for Alberta.
I'm surprised at where the UCP has gone, actually, since their amalgamation with the Wild Rose. I mean, we thought that they were actually going to move a little bit to the right, and I think everybody did, would hope that they were going to move a little more conservative than they were. But really, there's no change between the former Progressive Conservative of Alberta than there is with the UCP as it is today.
What do you think? Are we out to lunch? Are we too strong?
No, the UCP and Jason Kenney align themselves with the Conservative Party of Canada.
Yes,
so we know where their allegiance lies. I disagree that Jason Kenney's not doing something for Alberta. I mean, I think he's doing what he thinks is right. And he is a federalist, and I do believe, honestly, he probably does have ambitions to be the prime minister. So will he actually take the necessary steps, I think, the bold steps that need to be taken for Alberta? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, then that's just my opinion. But
Can Alberta afford to wait?
And we can't. And I truly do believe that too. I mean, I attended a number of the Fair Deal panels and listened, and I have yet to have somebody provide, and I'm not saying I'm a separatist. I've had some people say, oh, you're a separatist. No, I'm not actually. I have lived all across Canada. I grew up in Labrador. I've lived in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. So we have covered the Atlantic provinces, the Maritimes. I live in Alberta. I've lived in BC. And we have fundamental differences. That's why we have provinces. That's why the provinces were given the bulk of the power, actually. And then you had, at one time, this light little federal layer over top that were supposed to make things easy for the provinces and for us to do interprovincial trade and to help one another out. And now we've got the federal government that has become the bigger of the two, the one that has all the power, and the provinces have given that power up. It's not even that the federal government has taken it. The provinces have actually given it up.
They have given it up, yes.
So they need to take it back. Quebec, everybody's so angry with Quebec. And I sit back and I tell Albertans all the time, why are you angry with them? You're angry with them because they did what we need to do. They said, we are Quebec, we are our own province, and we will handle our own affairs.
Exactly.
They negotiate with the federal government in a very different way than we negotiate with the federal government. And that's what Alberta needs to do. Instead of, looking at them and seeing, being mad about it, we need to look at them and go, that's how they did it, and do what they did.
Yes.
And I think if you take separation off the table as a real, because it's a very real threat here right now. I mean, if you've got 25% of people that are that upset, and I've talked to people who would never have ever dreamed of even saying things like that.
Nadine, I don't think I would take separation off the table. I think I'd always have it right here. It's this. Everything else we take back control of, the things that we can take back that we have relinquished to Ottawa before, and let's take those things back as soon as we can.
Yeah, and there's things we can be doing tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. We could do them right away.
Yeah, we don't need a Fair Deal panel to tell us that we should be collecting our own taxes.
No.
Let's do it now.
Exactly.
Every province should be. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not being a federalist.
If the tech frontier, if the Trans Mountain Pipeline gets delayed, and that's a 10-year program. That's been there for 10 years. I mean, can you imagine, how long tech would take? And it's been 10 years on the books.
It's more dangerous than that, because if this project is rejected, the federal government has made it very clear. There will never be another major infrastructure project or resource project in Canada. Resource project in Canada again.
Especially when it involves
and I mean,
gas.
Right?
the policies alone, though.
Project.
So, I mean, the policies alone. You bring up a really good point. If it doesn't get approved, there'll never be a resource project developed in Canada again.
Yep.
And if it does happen in the east or something like that,
Yep.
then you definitely have a schism that's going to occur.
It's a two-tier
But
system.
there's also with Trans Mountain, there will never be another infrastructure project done. So separating out resources and infrastructure, Canada functionally will be dead.
Yeah.
Right?
We're at least at a minimum closed for business, and there will be no capital invested here. Again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think the only way for us to fix that is each individual province to take back their individual rights, collect their own money, and give it back to the federal government as they see fit once they've negotiated.
With
That
conditions.
will give us a proper role of the federal government and a proper role of the provincial government. Am I right?
No,
Am I wrong?
and that's what it boils down to. What's the proper role of government? You know, so you have municipal government, which has a role to play. You have provincial government, which I think should have the biggest role to play provincially. And then you have the federal government, which should be very small, in my opinion, and very restricted in its powers. And it should be about addressing affairs for all of Canada. Like, get out of the province's business. Just like the government should be out of people's business. It's none of your business, you know,
So how do we
what I
fix
do
it?
personally.
What do we need to do? I mean, we know you mentioned on Alberta, but how do we fix Canada?
Well, you know, look, there could be, you could just say, okay, how many people do we have in all the provinces in the existing legislatures? And let's take half of those representatives that
Who do
are
we
in,
put-
in the legislature
Who do we put
and
in
make them
power
federal
to
representatives.
fix Canada?
I don't think we have anybody today.
Max can't do it.
I think Max.
You can't do it.
Well, no. This is where, for me, I see things differently. The representation in Parliament is it's weighted too heavily on Quebec and Ontario. So if we are going to be provinces that are equally represented, then we have to find some way to have equal representation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
Constitutional reform.
Constitutional reform. And I'm sorry, but everyone's, oh, it's the Constitution. You know what? I know it's hard. But nothing in life comes easy, right?
The problem is with
and we can fix it. Exactly. So if we can fix it, then let's look towards how do we fix it. The problem is you have all the power right now weighted in Quebec and Ontario. Why would they want to give that up? If you've enjoyed this excerpt, please don't forget to watch the full video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.